Though the contents of this program provide information taught by certified firearm training instructors on how to properly carry and discharge firearms, do not attempt this at home. All gun handlers should seek personalized training programs in their area to properly learn how to safely carry and operate firearms. Contact your local law enforcement or NRA agency to find certified training instructors in your area.
I'm here taking a training class here at Tac Pro to learn how I can empower myself.
Today on Conceal and Carry School.
My best friend, Lori, and I went on a cruise. We were going to have a great time.
What has the cruise line industry been hiding from you?
I wasn't going to let myself sit back and be a victim.
Now, on a mission to save much more than herself, Lori's got one story you won't want to miss. And then, Bill Davison takes the class to the jet. All that and more, today on Conceal and Carry School. On today's show, we're going to hear the heroic story of Lori Dishman. Lori is one of the 9 students here attending classes at Tac Pro. And though you might not know it from looking at her, she's been through one of the most traumatic events you could possibly imagine. But as you'll soon see, her horrific situation has not stopped her from seeking personal empowerment. And with the help of her lifelong friend Michelle Rasky, also one of the 9 students at Tac Pro, Lori has quickly become the warm center of the student body. Also, on this episode, we'll explore the risks involved with travel and give you some helpful defensive advice for what to do if trouble should arise. Join us now on Conceal and Carry School.
Conceal and Carry School is brought to you by Ruger, rugged, reliable firearms. Conceal and Carry School is brought to you by
Insight Technology, built for battle. And by Blackhawk, honor as a way of life.
My name is Lori Dishman. I live in Sacramento, California. I work for Mount Occam Winery as the Director of Sales and Marketing.
My name is William Dishman. Lori is my number 2 daughter. I have 3 daughters and a son. She was always outspoken and outgoing, like the spokesperson of the 4 kids.
My best friend Michelle is here with me this week, and it's great because we've been friends since we were 5 years old.
Friends since the age of 5, Michelle and Lori have experienced a great deal together.
Lori's closer to me than my sister. She's more than my best friend. She's probably the one person in my life that I know will be there forever.
In 2006, Michelle Rasky and best friend Lori Dishman decided to take a vacation together.
Lori and I went on a cruise to celebrate our 30 years of friendship.
We were going on an adventure then. We were going to have a great time. We were on a cruise ship. What could happen?
This year alone, nearly 12 million people will board a cruise line for a relaxing journey to an exotic location far away from home. Though the numbers are low, some of these 12 million people will go missing. Some will be raped and others robbed.
The things that have come up, I would have never thought could possibly happen.
I felt that I couldn't do anything.
You don't pick a time that you're going to be a victim of a crime. I didn't realize when you were boarding this ship that there's no security on this 2,400 passenger vessel. It was the worst thing that has ever happened to me.
Lori Dishman's been fighting the cruise line industry for over 4 years. She's not only been the victim of rape, she's been the victim of a heinous corporate cover-up.
They didn't notify the FBI for almost 24 hours after the rape occurred.
When you're on a cruise ship, you have no rights. You have no laws to protect you.
But this criminal had been fired by Disney Cruise Lines, and he had been in trouble for harassing other women just 6 weeks before he raped me.
It was 4 years ago. There's still a lot of anger about the situation, and Lori and I are actively involved in campaigning to change the laws on cruise ships.
The last 4 years has definitely been a journey in itself. I would have never thought that I would have had to walk the halls in Washington while going to therapy.
If you were aboard a cruise vessel, would you know how to defend yourself? Would you know what steps to take in order to properly report the crime? Coming up, Lori Dishman's attack was unexpected. Would you know what to do if you were attacked and didn't have a firearm within reach? And then, Bill Davison takes the class to the jet. All that and more on Conceal and Carry School. Welcome back. In 2006, Michelle Rasky and best friend Lori Dishman decided to take a vacation together to celebrate their friendship.
What a wonderful way to get away as friends and just have a vacation that we felt we deserved.
It wasn't long after the girls purchased their tickets, they were walking aboard a cruise liner.
We were gonna have an umbrella drink in our hand. We were gonna have a great time.
Soon after getting unpacked in their cabin, the girls decided to get a few drinks at the local nightclub on board the ship.
We had had some drinks, we were having fun, just like we would do back home.
A security guard in the nightclub approached the women upon their arrival and asked to see if they were old enough to drink.
We first thought, why do they want to talk to us?
Lori, not carrying her ID, gave the security guard her room number and suggested he look it up to find her age. The night continued on, and the security guard continued to harass Lori.
He grabbed my wrist and pulled me towards him, and I pushed him away. And as I went back to Michelle, she didn't know what had happened to me. My whole demeanor changed. I just said I want to go to the room.
I put her in our cabin and went back upstairs to join my friends that I had met and finished the last hour before the lounge closed.
She thought I would be safe in my room. We were on a cruise ship. What could happen, you know?
Soon after arriving back at her cabin, and just moments after lying down to sleep, Lori's room phone began to ring.
I woke up and I went to answer the phone, and when I answered it was a man's voice asking me if I was alone, and I said, "Who is this?" And he hung up the phone.
It wasn't long before she heard a knock. With no chain lock or peephole to see who was knocking, Lori felt she had to open the door to see who was on the other side.
When I went to slowly open the door thinking it was Michelle, he forced his way into the room.
He pushed Lori onto the bed and began to strangle her with his hands.
I kept resisting and saying no.
Despite her struggle, Lori was no match for the man and soon passed out due to lack of oxygen. Michelle returned later that night and found Lori asleep in her bed.
It was completely dark, so I thought she was asleep, and I went to sleep next to her.
The following morning, Lori found dark bruises around her neck, and within an instant, a flood of painful memories filled her head.
I saw the bruises and it just came back to me. I had become unconscious and realized that this man had come and raped me.
In tears, Lori began to tell Michelle what had happened to her after she returned back to their cabin.
As he was raping me, he told me I could have 6 more days of this. And as I heard his voice for the longest time, I could hear his voice and see his face in that lounge when he approached me, and that's how I knew who it was.
Shocked by the news, Michelle quickly reported the crime to the ship's crew and began asking them for help.
We reported it to the head security guard, and then they stood up and told me, "Miss Dishman, it sounds to me as if you need to control your drinking."
For the next 24 hours, we were completely helpless at sea. The cruise lines did nothing. I got a hold of the purser, and he sent the chief executive officer of security, which he assured us was not, the person who was there the night before, to our room, and immediately began a cover-up.
We get to the doctor, the first thing he does, the nurse hands us 2 gray garbage bags and asks us to go back to the room and collect the evidence.
They started calling their lawyers. We found out later throughout the investigation that they were already on the phone to their lawyers back at their headquarters in Florida, trying to figure out what to do to hush this up.
Because Lori's attacker was a security guard, the women were afraid to leave their cabin.
I kept asking, "Where is he? What have you done with him?" And they said they locked him in the brig.
We found out later that the guy was never put in the brig, that they didn't even really have a brig, and he was allowed to continue to work on the ship for the rest of the week. They kept assuring us that everything was all right. They made many attempts to convince me to get Lori to stay on the cruise ship for the full length of the cruise.
The next day, they finally listened to me after the purser once again said to me, "Well, Miss Dishman, if you stay on board or go home, you'll still be upset."
So why not stay here and enjoy our beautiful ports of call, as verbatim what the man said.
As I looked at him and Michelle stood up, he just told her how lovely she looked in her dress.
Shortly after arriving back in Los Angeles, Lori was met by FBI agents.
We thought, wow, somebody's helping us, somebody's listening to us.
Within a handful of days, the FBI threw Lori's case out due to a lack of evidence, claiming it as a he said, she said case.
I didn't know that when I left Long Beach, California, that I left my rights in the United States when I boarded that ship.
But this was only the beginning. After months of struggling to secure her evidence from the cruise line, evidence they claimed did not exist, Lori began to realize she wasn't going to win this fight on her own.
So from there, I found my maritime attorney in Florida, because anytime a crime happens in international waters, you have to fight civilly in Miami.
Following the victimization Lori experienced, she knew it was time to make a change in her life. Up next, Bill Davison's taking the class off the range and going into the gym. And later, Lori Dishman goes to Washington to fight the good fight. Welcome back. Lori Dishman joins 8 other students from across the United States down at Tac Pro Shooting Center to take a lesson from Bill Davison and his staff. Bill Davison's put everyone's guns away and brought out the floor mats.
Hi guys, what we're going to do this morning is a little bit of self-defense. We're going to go into some of the worst scenarios that we can be in and then work out a way of solving that problem and then showing you how to do it.
If an attacker grabs a hold of you, look for weak points in their grip that you can use to your advantage.
The weak parts of the hand are the joint and the way that the wrist goes. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and work against the weak parts of his wrist to change what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in this way and turn my elbow. We said this is strong. Yeah, okay, now I'm going to move my feet around this way. Now if I just rotate that and push down. Did you see me go? Ah! No, because I didn't.
From being raped 4 years ago, there were things that we learned that I know now that I could have done.
If I just do this, try and get away, if he's bigger than me, he's going to stay holding on. We have to take strength and use it against him, okay? But I want you to know you can get away first.
The point of breaking free is to escape rather than increase the conflict.
Our goal is not to be there. So if we can escape and move and get away, then that's what we're going to do. So if it's grip and I'm going to turn, I step in and push, you step away.
Now what we've done is we've learned how to put that distance between ourselves and the perpetrator.
Even if you don't have a gun, the shooting stance is the strongest position to be in.
So from here, I'm going to push up, and then I need to step back into my stance. The shooting stance that we teach is the same stance that you use for your unarmed combat. So if I need to move forward, I can move forward.
If your attacker has you on the ground, don't give up. Take advantage of your position.
I'm in real bad shape. As soon as I can feel his legs, I want to try and take control of him a little bit. I'm going to drop this leg down, hook it around his. Push on here, or come around and wrap around his. Look him in the eyes, either through his arm or over the top, whichever way you want.
If you're being choked, your arms are free. Take the opportunity to strike the attacker in the eyes and throat.
So he's got me in the standard choke. I've got my hands. Go to the Adam's apple, go down 1 inch, and there's a little groove where your bone sits. Okay, get a good hold.
If you're gonna be hitting someone in the throat, is it better to use like your fist?
If you do have to strike, open hand, palm of your hand as hard as you can in the soft areas. Every time we hit with a fist, we stand a chance of breaking the bones.
With that training in there, just a few minutes going through that scenario, I think I could have changed the outcome of my situation.
When you encounter an attacker armed with a knife, there are key things to look for.
Standard knife threatening, they want to scare you with the blade, usually what we call overextended.
If an attacker holds their weapon too far out in front of them, it's to your advantage.
Hit the wrist and the hand at the same time. Okay, I'm going to move away from the knife, come up, bop. Whoa! Put on the gun, same thing, they're going to threaten you with the weapon. I'm going to aim for the wrist and for down. I don't want this gun to go off and hit me, so while I do it, I'm going to move. So she's actually been taught how to use a gun, she's determined to get me. First thing I have to do is remove this bit where the bullet comes from me. Alright, so I'm going to pull. Now if the gun did go off, it would be hot, it would burn my hands, the gases wouldn't be good, it wouldn't cycle again, but it wouldn't kill me.
I always thought if someone had pulled a knife or a gun on me that I would try to do what they say until a point where I could get away. And I think I came out of this saying, no, never give up. If they have a gun or knife, I'm still going to go for it. I'm going to take control of that weapon and take care of it myself.
From here, I'm going to step in and I'm going to push the front sight through Sarah's face down through her body. Yeah. If she does pull the trigger, who gets shot? Me. That's right, not me.
Coming up, Lori Dishman and other victims of cruise line crimes take the fight to Washington in search of justice.
Conceal Carry School is brought to you by Cheaper Than Dirt, America's ultimate shooting sports discounter, by Otis, the most advanced gun care system in the world, and by TN Marketing and the Personal Defense Network.
Welcome back. Lori Dishman was brutally raped on a cruise by one of the cruise line's employees. Now, 4 years later, Lori's still fighting Congress to get new laws passed to change the cruise line industry.
We were told by the Department of Justice, basically, if we didn't like it, to go change the laws, that there's nothing they could do, their hands were tied, and go talk to your congressman.
Lori contacted Congresswoman Doris Matsui and asked for her help.
It was about a year later, March of 2007, that we went to Congress, and Lori gave her testimony.
To hear her in that congressional hearing, I'm going to tell you, I was so proud of her. She just did such a beautiful job.
And a huge investigation continued to be put underway for the next several years on underreported crimes, what was happening with missing passengers.
Last year, 25 people went missing. The reason why I have continued this journey is not only to take care of myself, but I don't want it to happen to somebody else, and I want other women to know that they have a voice.
For the past 4 years, Lori's not only tried to prevent other men and women from becoming victims, she's been making numerous trips to Washington to get her bill passed.
We just passed legislation in the House, the Cruise Ship Safety Act.
The cruise lines, after years of meeting with them and continuing to tell them what they're doing is wrong, they finally decided to support the bill. They will actually benefit from doing things to help the victims that are on their ships rather than trying to cover up the crimes.
The man who attacked and raped Lori was never arrested or tried for his crime. Though he was fired from that particular cruising vessel, another may likely have hired him.
To this date, that man has never spent one day under arrest, has never been brought to trial. He's still, as far as we know, able to work on any cruise line wherever he wants.
After multiple congressional hearings which exposed the ridiculous inadequacies of the existing security measures on cruise vessels, Congresswoman Matsui introduced H.R. 3360 in the House of Representatives.
The cruise lines will be mandated to report the crimes that occur on their ships. Currently, their reporting of crime is completely voluntary.
Lori testified one thing is like peepholes in the doors. Now, how difficult is it to put a peephole in the door? All your hotels have it. And that's what a cruise ship is a floating hotel.
Homeland Security would be involved more. There's going to be a number for you to call that will be posted in your room, almost like a 911 on the ocean.
If you ever happen to find yourself the victim of crime aboard a vessel at sea, make sure to follow Lori's lead. Do not sign any forms. Ask to see a doctor. Bring as much attention to the situation as you possibly can.
I feel if I was in the same situation again, I would be vocal. Every person on that ship would know what had happened to us. You are your only source of protection. You are the only one who can protect you.
I see his face. I see the guy who raped me, but I'll tell you, I'll be damned if he's gonna do this again to somebody else. Michelle and I did not know. Walking up as two single girls, getting on a cruise ship, we didn't know.
You know, Lori and I always say to each other that we don't ever want to see two best friends telling this story ever again.
I mean, I don't know if I'll ever get justice, but my justice is what I'm doing now, and that's helping other people.
Update. After 4 years of struggle with the cruise line industry and Congress, the efforts of Lori Dishman and others have helped to pass the historic Cruise Vessel and Security Safety Act. Signed by President Obama in July 2010, it is now the law of the land. Congratulations, Lori. Next time on Conceal and Carry School, Lynn Forsell is 61 years old and has a stalker. Raised as a pacifist, Lynn has a lot more than a fear of guns to contend with. Should her age play a factor as well? We'll find out next time on Conceal and Carry School.